Oh, buddy, welcome. Forgive me if I cough a little bit. Might have a bit of a cold coming on here. Sorry for the late start. I just ended up falling asleep, so my sleep schedule's still kind of messed up, but getting a little bit better, hopefully. um, I might try out the Lulu game, or Lulu Warmogs again. I've been having some pretty good luck on that. Had kind of mixed results the last couple of days with other champs, but this Lulu seems pretty good. Now, at least two of those games that I think we've gone 1-4 the last 2 days, but at least two of those we were very far ahead. It was imminently winnable, and we just threw. So that is the thing. But I was running pretty hot before then too. So yeah, so we got 2 games over here on it. With a 27 KDA, obviously very low sample size, and over here we also won, so I think we're like 3-0 on it. This feels really strong. In one of these, I shouldn't have even died at the very end. It was like we were killing their Nexus. And I just stepped up too close and got blown up. That's another thing I forgot to mention about Lulu specifically is she's historically, like, there are metas, usually when enchanters are good, she's one of the best enchanters because she has such high inherent scaling in her kit. Especially when you combine it with things like Ardent Sensor. It's just incredibly strong. Now, what do I pick here? I think we might just go with Leona. She's one of the highest early pressure engage champs, and you can't really hide behind a minion wave or anything with her. She's very popular and very powerful right now. So we'll go ahead and get rid of her. Yes, the next most dangerous pick probably would be something like Blitzcrank. Okay, they pick Morgana. Sure. We'll see. I mean, if they get a turbo fed person, they can still Black Shield your... Hey, what's up, here, Nizak? The problem is, I don't think a lot of people are picking tanks. Like, Soraka historically is good with Warmogs. But I feel like you need tanks. Like, you need people who just aren't going to instantly get blown up. And I just like that Lulu... Also, like, she doesn't have great engage personally, but she can speed other people up into engaging. So, like, I can give... I tried the Nami thing yesterday. We did, or it was either yesterday or the day before. I did a Nami thing. I wasn't that impressed with it. We had a Lucian. We got fed during the laning phase. I think Lucian, he had like 5 or 6 kills coming out of lane, and we still couldn't carry. And I was just getting blown up. I don't know. Like, she does have a high win rate. I just don't get wins on her these days. Now, Vayne with Morgana is obnoxious. If they get ahead. With the Black Shield. But Oh, it's Gwen jungle versus Yorick. Okay. I mean, team comps do matter, but really it's like you can just play around things that are counters most of the time. Like, just go, if it's like a super hard lane, you know, just go down a little bit of CS in lane, whatever you have to do. Just try not to feed, and then I promise you the enemy will give you a chance to get back in the game later. Team fight, so you can catch people out that are pushing where they shouldn't. Like, most of it is the mid game. Because even if they get a little bit ahead, right, they're going to get bounties. If they get really ahead, you're going to get objective bounties. I guess that was the toxic dude. And then if you just hang around in the game and you just look for opportunities later, you can get back in the game with just a couple of good team fights. Okay. Not get exploited. Yeah. Well, it's pro, but it's also like challengers. People just, especially I Will Dominate's extremely annoying about this. Cadril does it to a lesser extent. I have to kind of watch those guys because they're the only ones that cover international stuff. Sneaky does some like NA stuff. And his editor's a lot slower than the editors of those guys. But, yeah, people just, it's like people are just saying, okay, GG, right? Like, it's this matchup, GG, there's nothing you can do. Or, like, you die once at level 1. You're like, alright, this lane's done, GG. And then it's like, literally 2 minutes later, the person who was 0-1 is like 3-0 or something, or 3-1. Like, I've seen it turn around so much, even at a high level, people come back in the game who are down. Now, sometimes they don't. But a lot of times they definitely can. Even at the highest level. But it's just so easy to have this defeatist attitude. And I mean, I Will Dominate says, he's like, I don't literally mean it's GG. I just mean that, like, it's going to be difficult. It's like, yeah, but the people watching you don't know that. And they say that in their solo queue games. And they think it's, like, serious. So I think that's where a lot of it comes from. It's just seeing people in solo queue. Oh, we missed it. He should have done it faster. I like this Twitch. He's punishing them for actually aiming for me. Wow, we're only up 5 CS after all that. That's no good. Like, we are going to be up a little bit of XP, but... And people just hear about lane counters and shit. Like, 9 times out of 10, what matters is how well you play around where the jungler is. That's what matters. So much more than lane counters. Are you respecting that the jungler could be there? Are you positioning the lane in such a way that the jungler is going to be able to gank your lane? Are you picking a champ? Well, I mean, that does go back to champ select, where do you have, like, gank assist, right? But so much of it comes down to things that aren't just one-on-one with your lane opponent. flash for it, but I didn't have my E. If I had Ignite, she would have died. Could I have exhausted there? Maybe. Maybe if I exhaust there and boost Twitch up faster. I don't know. I don't know where the jungler is, though. So if I try to dive after that, I could just die. Okay, but they dies there, right? Yes. One for one. I died. Who got the E? Got a kill though. That's about even. We stopped Dragon too. She wasted a lot of time on Dragon. Yee's up 8 CS. I mean, it'd be nice if I didn't die there, but I need to not get hit by that bind. I'm getting hit by way too many binds. Yeah, Lulu, I think, has been pretty good. I've been trying her out with Warmogs. Shit. Oh, God, that Black Shield is so annoying. I've got to just boost up the Twitch. Never mind. I think it's gonna crash. If Twitch didn't hesitate, we could have had it. Is she really gonna try this again? Zed could, but I think Zed's out of cooldowns and he was kind of low. This guy just keeps doing Dragon. We maybe should not kill it so she keeps trying it. So we can as farmer. It's got 30 CS. Bannable Gwen. I mean, it's hilarious. He keeps thinking we're going to be on a bad back timing. I mean, it kind of was. But no one was helping her with it. Like, Twitch was back. Morgana with Warmogs. Yeah, I just don't think she has enough power. I don't know. Like, Black Shield is strong, but I don't know. I am kind of a self-described Morgana hater, so alright, we'll just go for that, I guess. I think there might be some other enchanters too. Like, I've seen some pro players rush Renata with Warmogs. They only pick Renata with Callista though, but it's just Lulu's baseline power level is so high because her picks gives out like 80 extra damage per auto attack. I think I live if she gets me. I'm gonna hold, well, I guess I'll speed him up a little bit. I was like, I'm gonna hold my W for the Gwen if she shows up, but I've still got ult. Let's put those words down somewhere. I mean, yeah, it's like 2.5 abilities, really, because her ult is like okay, but very situational too. Warmogs would allow her to get in closer to trigger the stun on her ult more often. Oh my god. Okay, well. But yeah, that's whole. I mean, you could say like Lulu's Q also is not amazing. Let's be honest. Like, it's got a little slow on it. It's probably more useful than the W. As far as like the W, if you're farming with it, can be good, but I don't know. Lulu is just so much inherent power. Like, she doesn't need plus healing and shielding. She doesn't need AP. So you're not paying as high of an opportunity cost to get your enchanter power. Like, you don't need items to get the power. Where the hell do they have that worded? If Twitch doesn't get binded, I'm pretty sure we just win 2v3. Dude. This shit just cracks me up. Every time Dragon's up, she goes for it. Like, you know I just warded that area. I just walked through there and you cleared one of my wards. I'm still not sure if I should get Slay. Probably depends on the matchup. Or the bubble thing. Couldn't get there fast enough. Okay, she's over there. That's fine. Can we just get across it, man? I guess he doesn't want to. I mean, that's the conservative smart move, is don't disrespect the wave. We're kind of waiting on his ult too. Okay, nice. He got all the local gold. Damn it. I wanted the assist. I should have W'd myself to run up there to shield him, so I got the assist. I did lose a little bit of gold there. Alright. Get those plants out of there. Lulu's got that speed up too, which is really handy. I kind of have to go where Twitch is. Twitch needs to go mid, and then we need to like have someone else go bottom. I don't think Twitch understands just how powerful we are right now. Like, we can completely delete this Vayne. He's playing a little too cautiously, I feel like. We know where Gwen's going. Maybe she tries to jump on me. Okay, they all backed. Where's Twitch going? They're not doing Baron, are they? No way. Oh, if you would have hit that, it would have been nice. Some interesting cheese out of the bush there. Now we can get Ardent. It's a little odd because it's later. It does scale by level. At least the on hit does, but... Hey, what's up, Kenny? Inting. Yeah. Gwen's just not... She doesn't feel like she jungles a lot. Gonna jump over that wall. Smorg's probably like, oh my god, dude. This guy is just like destroying all my wards. Oh my god! Who the fuck hit that? Did I hit that or did he hit that?
Your turret has been destroyed.
Who shot that blast cone?
Your team has destroyed a turret.
Did I hit that blast cone or did Twitch hit that blast cone? Inquiring minds want to know. This guy's seriously trying to do Baron right now? Okay, well if I did it, fair enough. I must have just misclicked. Okay. Alright, I'm an idiot then. Okay, I think Twitch might have Infinity Edge here. There we go. We should be able to melt it. Yorick has no defense. I just got a little too disrespectful with the vision there. I still do that sometimes, so I gotta... Yi also has a very high damage build. Just let him have a Baron. Or actually, we can maybe get Dragon now.
Your turret has been destroyed.
Don't want to get TP'd on from behind. We saw 2 or 3 of them show up bottoms. That means they weren't death bushing. Near the dragon. Or near the... Yeah, near the dragon.
An enemy is unstoppable. Shut down.
I forgot we already got the tier 2. Alright. It's fine. Get their red. Twitch should be just be like mega fed now. Is he on 4th item yet? Almost. How does this game even feel close at all? I guess because Twitch has all the gold, basically. Which is good. But we do have to be aware Zed can still one-tap him. Come on, Gwen. Who did she kill? Or... I guess he didn't kill the person, but... What's our next objective? Feels like we just didn't get enough. We got like, what, 1 tower? The Baron? Surely Yi can outplay Zed down bottom, right? That's a negatory. Okay. Well, he's at least got double burn, so he's doing something. Well, he sucks. I mean, the Zed is really fed, but... Alright, what do I think I just get Vow and put it on Twitch. 13 on-hit damage. Well, we haven't really gotten into a fight with Twitch, like a team fight. We might lose because of Yorick. We'll see. It's possible. I mean, that's their best way to win. They're not... I don't think they're winning a team fight. Oh, getting him a Kales might also be good. Does McHale's have a Kindle gem in it? It has health. Or do we just play for Elder? We giving Baron? No, it's 30-second differential. At least push this wave further. Are they doing it? Oh my god, what the fuck? Okay. We should have just traded for Elder, I think. Where'd he go? I should have left that. You push this up. Can we... We might be able to end. I don't know. I don't know if we can end through Yorick. I mean, maybe. Oh, they just surrendered. Okay. Nah, I mean, I saw him top lane. Like, he was relatively strong in, like, one-on-ones inside lanes, but I don't know. It was going to be kind of far-fetched. They could, that was their best chance to win, but I think it was still a pretty low chance to win. It was just so hard for them to deal with Twitch. That's an item maybe I should think of a little bit more often is Mikhail's. Obviously not on a big tank, but on like Rakan or Lulu. Yeah, it does have a Kindle gem in it. It's kind of annoying they've nerfed this item so many times, but it's like, if this item is good at all, it's just like everybody feels like they have to buy it. I guess it's 120% efficient. Now, some of that is caught up in base mana regen. Really? It's only 12% healing and shielding power now? It used to be 15 for sure. I thought it was up to 20 at one point. Okay, but they gave it ability haste. Okay, I mean, 15% or 15 ability haste is better than 3% healing and shielding. They did get rid of gain health regen, because, like, who cares? By the time you get this item second, you're not going to be in the laning phase anymore. And they gave it... Yeah, it used to be 16% here. They gave it how much health? 250 health rather than the magic resist. How much magic resist was it? It was like 50 or something? Why am I missing it? Oh, here it is. Yeah. So that's like 950 gold, 900, 950, something like that, worth gold worth of magic resist, and they gave you like 700 gold worth of health, but health is just universally more valuable in a lot of situations. So it's like less gold efficiency, but probably a better stat. Then it doesn't feel as weird if they just have like low damage CC champs. You know, a Leona and everyone else on their team is AD, and getting him a Chaos doesn't feel as bad. Hey, thanks, Quickums. I mean, top can be good, but like something like Twitch is really, really difficult for people to deal with in solo queue, because no one respects the fact that he could be there, you know? Invisible. And like Twitch Lulu is one of the highest scaling combos in the game. I mean, gold efficiency isn't everything, but it's something. Like, that's how I see it. I'll play one more. I'll play at least 2 games. Playing one game feels kind of bad. I've done it before, but we'll try and play 2 here. Yeah, it'll be okay. Stay up a little bit later here. Yeah, Lulu's rocking it though. I mean, I have had good matchups for the most part. It's a low sample size. I think I played one where I had a Gen on my team. Like, this one was Hog. This one was Jin. Oh, that was with Jason. Like, obviously, attack speed champs with Lulu are good. I haven't been getting much sleep because of this dog. I mean, last night I got 2.5 hours of sleep, so I am an old man, but I ended up going to sleep at 4 and getting up at 6:30. Lulu's Senna seems kind of bad. I don't know, the movement speed's good, but kind of just want to see if we can find a bad matchup. Play it till we break it. I mean, something like Blitzcrank would be good here, but I mean, nothing's that great with Senna, like Senna that actually farms.
Pleased to meet you.
I know, I slept a little bit later. I had a department thing today. meeting I had to go to, and I was hoping, I was like, well, if I just stay up all night, or most of the night, maybe I can just sleep, then I'll be tired and I can actually like stream from 9 to 11 and then go to sleep. But I didn't make it all the way. I fell asleep at like 7 or something. Slept till 11:30 and then got up and streamed. Oh my gosh, write 3 articles in one day? What? What kind of articles you writing? In nutrition, man, it's like 3 months for one article, maybe. And like an English academic article. Just like, how do we phrase all this different bullshit to like try to get it published? Okay. Dude, I read this one that was like, wait, oh, it's Zyra Jungle, okay. It was like 3 different authors on a 12-page article. And all it was is they had the main author just introduce some ideas, which was interesting for the first like 6 pages. Then they had one guy just talk about his curriculum at his school. Almost in just like a descriptive manner. Like, here's what we do. Threw around a couple of buzzwords for like 2 or 3 pages. You know, had a quick gesture towards like one thing the person said in the first 6 pages. But it was mostly just descriptive of very generic, basic stuff that I would imagine most composition programs have. And then the second person was kind of talking about assignment, like a specific assignment or 2 for like 3 pages. And then the main guy comes on again and like summarizes it. I'm like, really? This is an academic publication? You just get 2 of your homies to go in and just write like 4 pages of super generic shit and that counts as a publication? Like, part of the thesis of one of the articles was like, I don't have my students write an argument for the first 8 weeks. They just sit there and they absorb ideas. They look at, you know, other perspectives. They try to figure out their own perspective, you know, and they just really think about it a lot before they write any sort of argument for 2 months. Half of the class. I'm like, guys, if they aren't making an argument, they're not going to care. Most students, like, I understand doing good research and stuff like that. That's obviously important, but I don't know. Maybe, like, that's my opinion on it. Is I feel like students are more disengaged when they feel like they're not writing their own perspective, or like they're not writing their own argument. Oh, I know. Dude, I've been in higher academia forever. I'm aware. But there are some articles, there are some things that are legit, like, different perspectives and pretty groundbreaking ideas. Like, it does happen. But a lot of kind of modern stuff, a lot of what I think was the really important stuff was done, you know, in sort of critical theory and stuff like that in the 60s and 70s. A lot of other stuff is just very derivative of those works. But, like, now you just have to gesture towards so much stuff. Like, before you say anything, you have to spend, you know, half of your article just giving shout-outs to other, like, homies in the field. Like Jennifer Smith said in her article, such and such. Like, Jimmy John said in his article, blah, blah, blah. Where back in the day, they just spent the entire time talking about, like, bold ideas. getting like creep blocked. Oh, he's fucking dead. He didn't cleanse the exhaust? It just seems like brawling with these guys early is a terrible idea. Like, Senna just does not trade that well. Like, just keep taking the small trades. So, like, some stuff is very good, and there is still some relatively groundbreaking stuff, but all of it is, you know, so much of it now is, again, just pandering towards the institutions versus before they were challenging institutions. Now they challenge it, but it's not, it's, everybody's doing it. So it's not like, I just feel like there's not as nearly as much innovation. Like, the innovation is just coming up with new theoretical words for stuff that just makes it more difficult to read. Like, that's the innovation, is getting people to accept your vocabulary now. Trying to say buzzwords that, like, sound, you know, woke or whatever. I'm like, a lot of the ideas that are quote-unquote woke, I mean, woke has kind of a derogatory term, but a lot of ideas that are gesturing towards, you know, social justice or other things, like, they're good ideas. It's just people are just very obnoxious about them and just leave out other, like, potentially interesting things to explore. In my opinion. It's like, I get it, guys. Like, it's good. It's a good mission, but we don't all have to, like, jerk each other off about this every article. Yeah. We just do not... Senna just feels like total garbage. As far as just the champion right now, the damage. Like, her damage just feels so low. Really, really need stacks. This wave position is so bad, but God, it's like one of the worst waves you can draw up. They're gonna catch it right under tower. Oh, this has a... I forgot they gave it a component now. That's kind of cool. It's got a glowing mode part of it. Yeah, I agree. Well, it is the internet in general. You're right. Like, echo chamber stuff is a real thing. But, like, one of the real goals of academia used to be to innovate thinking. Right? Like, you've always had stuff that was more or less popular to talk about. But especially if you look, like, way back in my time period that I really liked back in the 1800s. Like, people just had bold ideas. Yeah, some of it was dumb or wrong or whatever we think of now, but they're like, you know, their intent is to expand knowledge, right? Not to gesture towards their homies as much. I feel like it's just very institutionalized. Like, and I know a lot of that, you know, from my own academic stuff. If you don't write about, like, it's such a huge awareness of the audience, which is important rhetorically. But it just becomes so homogenized because, like, everybody's writing and thinking about the same arguments because that's what you have to write and think about to get something published. And you have to get something published if you want a job. Versus back then, like, the entire premise behind tenure was a noble idea in that you had some assurances that you were going to be able to keep your job and still challenge a bunch of stuff in society and in academia to try to combat this sort of echo chamber. Like, look, man, you can talk about, you know, bold stuff and still keep your job if you have tenure. But now it's, again, to get the tenure, you have to talk about the same stuff everybody else is for the most part. And that's how you get to keep your job. So it's like, in some ways, the exact opposite of what the intent was. Really what higher, you know, education should be. Oh, she doesn't even have... I thought she ghosted. Jesus. I wish we got the kill too, but... I just could not get in range with the W. Well, I mean, freedom of speech doesn't have freedom of consequences. And, like, I understand, you know, in a lot of jobs, but it feels like academia should be one, you know, where you're not allowed to say, like, turbo racist shit or whatever, right? But it's like, I'm just talking about being able to talk about different stuff. Not even just challenging what people are saying about the common topics, but just talking about different things. And there are some professors who do that. And some, you know, some institutions look at that more. But for instance, I was looking at, like, you know, rhetorical representations of Buddhism in Victorian literature and how that affected ideas specifically of compassion towards specifically colonial cultures. But other people, you know, other people are just like, like, it's not really engaging with contemporary, you know, postmodern ideas about power structures and identity. So I'm like, it's an area, it's on the Victorian era. And people were wanting me to read back theorists anachronistically back into older time periods, right? Like, I published a paper on, and this came out of a class that was looking at sexuality, women, sexuality, and Victorian literature, basically. So it wasn't, like, specifically looking at things like porn. It was looking at, like, sex laws and thoughts about women and basically how oppressive it was in the Victorian era. Which to some extent is true, right? It's definitely with the marriage laws. But there was this guy, these dudes that were, like, pretty edgy at the time, that were kind of misogynistic in some ways, initially, right? For sure. They called themselves the Cannibal Club. They didn't actually eat people, but again, they're just trying to be edgy, but, you know, they're in their 40s or 30s or 40s. And I found out that, you know, one of them, who was a really interesting character, I'm trying to remember his name, because no one ever talks about him. Because he, like, lived this shadowy lifestyle, and he was basically a porn bibliographer at the time. Like, he read every piece of porn he could come across, and he created a bibliography about it, where he would give you, like, the main gist or the plot of it, and, like, write reviews about it. Like, yeah, this one's pretty good. It had this kind of plot. This is kind of the freak shit it focused on. So, again, kind of a dubious character, but interesting. But he was the first person to translate the Kama Sutra into English. And with the translation, you can find, you know, where he was talking with these other Cannibal Club people that, you know, were initially kind of misogynistic. And then they're like, hey man, with this Kama Sutra, we think this is pretty cool because it's empowering women. A lot of women in the Kama Sutra were the ones doing these kind of, you know, sexualized things. And it was really like a spiritual kind of thing, right? It wasn't just the porn. It was like sexuality viewed in a, like, what they were perceiving as like a more cultural or spiritual sort of way. And they thought that was cool. Now, was that some sort of just pornographic male gaze fantasy thing? Possibly. But I also think that that's, you know, really dismissive without just looking at their actual writing. I think they were legit intrigued about that. And I think that because of that translation, they viewed the possibility for women in sexuality to be less, like, passive, to be a less male-dominated field. Right? This, like, whole sexuality thing. So I think it was coming to the realization that, you know, women could be interested in sex too. It doesn't just have to be exploitative. And, it, you know, sexuality in and of itself doesn't just have to be for procreation or sin or whatever. There could be an artistic, spiritual, cultural sense to it, potentially. And a lot of this came, again, specifically, they hadn't seen any of that before. A lot of this came from Eastern thought at the time, specifically, again, Kama Sutra. There were other texts, the Anangaranga, which I hadn't heard of before, but sounded kind of cool. It was fun to say. But to me, that was fascinating. It doesn't mean it's like the most original, but that, like, it was different, right? It was looking at a common theme, like, you know, in some ways, like, representations or understanding of women. But it was looking at it through a different lens. Through this, like, pornographer. How do I adapt the Kama Sutra to sex without a woman? I don't remember if there's specifically, like, gay or non-binary stuff in there. There probably is. I haven't actually read the whole thing all the way through. But, I mean, that's kind of a path that they were looking at, too. Is they were also challenging the normativity of sex. Right? That sex just had to be a heterosexual thing between, you know, one man and one woman, and they had to have the intent of getting married or being in a long-term relationship. They were challenging those norms. So I'm sure they would really like to, you know, explore that. LGBTQ plus types of expressions of sexuality or other, you know, types of things that are non-heteronormative. Like, you know, they were trying to get into those conversations. That wasn't the specific focus of my paper, so I don't know exactly, but I think that that's definitely a step in that direction, and that there's a high probability they wrote or thought about those things. Again, I don't know if you would talk about that in front of the homies as much, or if you'd have to veil it, or what. Because it was, like, literally illegal to be gay in Victorian England at the time. That's, a lot of people say that's how Oscar Wilde died, was it came out that he had, like, I don't know if it was, you'd call him his partner, but he had, like, this longtime lover that was this other lord of this guy, and he had to do hard time in prison for that. And it really fucked him up a lot, psychologically, and that, you know, went to a lot of why he died. So, like, it's tough because you can't literally come out and talk about it. Holy shit, dude. Alright, the camp is real. Jesus, this Anivia is just wrecking us. So it's hard to say because they couldn't literally talk about it. Yeah, it is still illegal in a lot of countries today, but it was kind of crazy. Well, not kind of, like, is. But yeah, so anyways, I thought it was an interesting, like, cool conversation. Like, okay, this is cool. You know, do I agree with everything they say? No. Are they still a little bit, you know, occasionally on the misogynistic side? Sure. Could you see it as a male gaze fantasy thing instead of legitimate empowering of women? Sure. But I think it's also a little bit disingenuous to say that it couldn't possibly be something else. You know? Like, why not a little bit of both? Why does it have to be so binary? Like, people take steps towards understanding. No one's going to be 100% like non-misogynistic, if that's even possible, you know, whatever that means. No one's going to be 100% with the program from reading one thing, right? It's all steps, and it's all a process. It's never a completed destination. And they were part of that process of people looking at, it was specifically kind of, you know, sexuality in the Anangaranga and the Kama Sutra, but it was a different perspective on it, and particularly it was at least acknowledging that women could have a different perspective than men, and it was acknowledging a place where women could express a kind of power or control that they really couldn't in a lot of Victorian England. For some women, right? Obviously there were very powerful women, like the Queen. But this was something, again, like, women, like, you could not really date. Like, you still had to be married for a lot of jobs. You still had to have, you know, a man. I don't think you were allowed to own your own property in a lot of places. If you got divorced, the husband got everything. You couldn't even divorce him unless, like, he beat you, basically. If he just cheated on you or was a douchebag or anything like that, you couldn't get a divorce. So it's, like, obviously an extremely oppressive time for women. And, you know, for this person to be trying to empower women in some ways, especially in sexuality, which, again, in terms of a lot of culture and literature and stuff like that, was always seen to be a very male-dominated aspect of human experience. And if women ever experienced sexual desire or whatever, it was bad, right? Like, that was going to be the fall of this woman. So, I mean, if you look at Tess of the D'Urbervilles, or just, like, all of this literature, if a woman was sexual at all, like, outside of wedding, if she was just kind of having fun, like, 90+% of it, it was, she's about to die, or something really bad's about to happen to her. But anyway, I thought all this was pretty cool. It challenged a lot of the common narratives. Again, it's not saying everybody did that, or everybody was moving towards sexual liberation, or everybody studied these guys, but it was just showing an alternative narrative out there. And I tried to submit this for publication to a few different places. And, you know, one place that gave me feedback, it was a special edition, and the theme of the journal was sexuality in Victorian women, or in Victorian literature. I think it might have even been specifically women, sexuality, and Victorian literature. It's like literally... and so I was like, okay, perfect, this is on board. And then I look at, you know, the only feedback she gave was, didn't mention Judith Butler, not interested, basically. Judith Butler is a 21st century scholar who talks about, like, post-colonialism and, like, post-feminism and, like, all of these posts, right? All of these ideas and thoughts that weren't really around, or certainly weren't popularized until like 1960s or 70s. And we're looking at a guy who did this, who wrote these things in 1880. Like, it's like, I get it, you can read stuff back into history, but that to me feels a bit extreme. Like, hey, you didn't mention my favorite theorist, who has never written anything about this time period, did not live in this time period, whose ideas were not circulating during this time period. It's just like, what? And that's the kind of you know, crazy shit that just really annoyed me. It's like, you're not even gonna, like, I mean, if you just want to say it's not written well, right? It's like, I'd like to see a bit more evidence, or we're concerned that this isn't culturally relevant enough to warrant publication here, right? It's like just not connecting enough with popular thinkers of the time. It's like, okay, those are all like valid criticisms if you're looking for something a little more mainstream. Or if you just say, even like, we're not sure our audience is going to be as excited to read this as some of the other options that were, you know, submitted. It's like, okay, you want people, and I mean, that part's probably true, right? Because again, a lot of people like to kind of just a huge circle jerk about a lot of the same common ideas. It's like, I can understand all that, but and maybe that's probably what it was, really. Is it just like, they just didn't think it was with the program enough that readers just wouldn't be as interested in it. Again, everybody's just trying to figure out, like, how can I just get more and more people to agree with me? And can I go to all these conferences and talk about all the stuff that we both believe in, that we both already know, and then network enough to, like, maybe get a job in academia, right? So that was just a little disheartening. Yeah, I mean, so again, you know, I think that new theories and reading new theories and just seeing what we can learn about the past was, you know, is cool. But I think we have to be careful not to be too anachronistic, not to read too much of our stuff. And I've had people, you know, some of my professors or people on, like, my committees for exams and things be like, oh, and they wanted to see, like, these postmodern theories applied to, you know, the 1900s or the 1800s. It's like, okay, but, like, can we kill them? Oh, Nivea's here too. I don't know, man. I think we need to try to dodge her if we can. Shit. Nivea's probably going to get a tower, but I think we just got to try to get some kills here, too. Now they're going to get inhibitor, probably. I don't know. I don't think we could get back there in time, anyways. Vel'Koz just had to hold the wave. Okay, I think they backed. So I do like certain kinds of theory. I do think some theoretical stuff is good. Specifically Derrida and Foucault. And Foucault was kind of, you know, started a lot of the postmodern stuff. And again, a lot of that's, like, cool. I just think people go too far with it. And I think that, like, history and looking at a historical moment and understanding the culture and the history and all that kind of stuff about the moment is also cool. But we'll think we were idiots. I'll have to side with people from the 1800s. Depends on about what. I think it's very difficult to really even understand what the world's going to look like in 2050. Like, I think the rate of advancement is going to be so crazy. Potentially. Maybe it would be 2100 instead of 2050, but ha! She exhausted me? Okay. was not expecting that Urgot flanked there. I should have been. God, Udyr's not even ahead on farm. It feels like Urgot's at every fight, and Udyr's just like perma-splitting. Yeah, I think a lot of people, even in 2100, are going to think a lot of our ideas, our medicine, our technology, everything is just like extremely primitive. Oh yeah, I mean, definitely in terms of like video games. I mean, there was no internet in really the internet didn't even become a popular thing until the 2000s. Yeah, it was like commercially available in the 90s, but a lot of people did not have it. It was really, more middle class. I guess like Windows 95 was like pretty accessible. Like, I don't know, we were on the poor side, and I still had a computer with Windows 95. But yeah, I mean, that was less than 30 years ago. Right? And just think of how different the world is. Whether good or bad or whatever, like, it's very different. And, just like e-commerce, like, you couldn't buy anything online. Hardly. Right? Because there was no online. There weren't cell phones, so you didn't have apps for everything. There wasn't really a Google search. If you didn't know something, you just didn't know it. Unless, like, some of your friends or family, or somehow you managed to watch a documentary and checked out physical books in the library. There's just a lot of I don't know out there. And people were cool with that, for the most part. Now, some people, again, say it's like an idyllic, good thing. And I can definitely see a lot of that. I was just thinking about it the other day, and frankly, I remember being bored a lot when I was a kid. Like, sitting inside, watching, the same episode of The Price is Right for the 5th time, being out for the summer, because I had, like, 5 video games or something. I'd already beaten them a million times, because back then you could beat the game, in, like, 5 hours or something or less. And, my friends, I'd try to go out and play with friends and stuff, and we did a lot. We played basketball, baseball, soccer, just random bullshit out in the yard, neighborhood stuff. But it's like, sometimes it's just oppressively hot, or they were like, if they were divorced, they were at the other parent's house, or, they just had something else going on, right? If, like, the couple of neighborhood friends were gone, and, there just wasn't a lot of shit to do. That's what it seemed like to me anyways. God, she's got a fucking bubble, so I can't polymorph her. I was gonna poly her since she came out. Damn, somehow we're on soul point. Okay, he's got her now, right? There's no way he doesn't have her. Dude, here, please get your ass over here. Somehow we've got soul in this game, when it feels like we've never had a chance. Somehow we're in it. But yeah, it was cool, and I did like hanging out with friends. And it was a good era, but it wasn't all, like, insanely rosy, right? Like, I was definitely bored. And I read a lot of books, too. I was thinking... And this is something I definitely need to fix, but man, when I was in like 3rd and 4th grade, I read some of the that's when I read the most in my life, for pleasure. Not including like grad school, but just like, you know what, I want to read this book. It's like reading all these Goosebumps books and Fear Street. Oh my god, now she's popping. Alright, now Senna's doing some damage. So it's like, yeah, you could read books and things like that. It was just a little bit different. This Urgot feels... I can't get to you, man. No. Back up. God. Or just, you know, engage. Just run at him. I don't think Zyra kills me. No. Come on, baby. Block, arrow. I just read that Urinate song. It's funny. The old school fidget spinner, huh? Just see some kid just bored in 5th grade or something, just having a spin. I mean, it probably happened. Hey man, I gotta go check my cubby real quick, or whatever the fuck it was called. We used to have, I don't remember if it was called a cubby. It sounds like it's, you know, elementary school or something, but you had some extra storage space back in a closet, and that used to be a place where you could go exchange notes, like pass physical notes and sneaking that around, and that was like, you know, that was the sneaky thing. Okay, Zen's getting tier 2. Alright, Zen is popping now. Kind of slow early on. Man, dude, this Lulu pick, like, we got freaking smashed in lane. I thought it was over. almost no. Yeah, I didn't have a cell phone. I didn't get a cell phone until college, and it was garbage. Actually, that's not true. I may have had like an extremely limited like phone for emergency use only, and I don't think I ever used it. It had like 30 minutes a month or something. I think you had to fill it with minutes. You had to like buy it by the minute or something. Even in college, it was like that. I think you paid for like the minutes. It was like I had Cricket. I don't even know if that's still around, but you had to like fill it with so many minutes. But if somebody called you, you could answer and it didn't use your minutes. It was only when you called them. So I remember dating this girl junior year in college, and I would call my friend, or I would be like with my friend, and I would tell him to call her to have her call me so I could talk to her, like without using my minutes. I think it was like nights and weekends too, like after 8 p.m. or something. So that was funny. He's gonna be on the registry in the future. Yeah, I mean, that kind of like risky sexual behavior, I mean, it doesn't always mean that you're gonna be a sex offender, but it's probably a pretty decent correlation. I mean, maybe not. It depends. Like, to be, I mean, I guess, doesn't mean you're going to be a violent sex offender or a PDF, necessarily. But, yeah, I'd certainly say it increases the probability quite a bit. Because then it's, you know, it's about the voyeurism, or, I don't know, who knows what the psychology of that is, but... Oh my gosh. I never really investigated enough. Some interesting stuff went on the back of the bus. I was back there sometimes, but I don't know, it was just usually people just gossiping about dumb shit, talking about where they're going to smoke weed when they get off, talking about sex with their boyfriends a little bit. Remember there was one girl in my health class that said she had sex with her boyfriend 16 times a week. I was like, the fuck? She was just like, yeah, every weekday before and after school, so it was twice, and then it was 3 times on the weekend. I was like, okay. Hey, yo, hit me up if, you know, you're single. Let me know if things don't work out with that boyfriend. Do you have any friends of the same persuasion? Of the same habits? I don't remember the content. I just like came into health class. I was like a sophomore or something, and these 2 girls were just talking about that in the corner of the room. I was like, okay, cool. Man. But anyways, okay, well, I got to get out of here. I guess we can finish this last couple of points. I don't know how that would work. Because I mean, there's probably some people that just like are not attracted, I would imagine, to people of the other sex like at all. So it's just like, you know, a straight guy looking at another straight guy, right? Like a gay guy looking at a girl potentially. It's just like not there. I mean, some people will do it just for the social show, right? So they just feel like they're fitting in, you know, that type of thing. They'll just like, they'll make it happen. They'll have a girlfriend or whatever, but I feel like it's like a spectrum too with a lot of people. I mean, people want to say gay or straight or bi or pan or whatever. But I feel like for people that aren't, I don't even know if people, like, I guess you could be 100% straight. A lot of people would say you could, But I think definitely if you identify as being on the spectrum, I think there's like a degree, I would imagine, but I don't know. But I know that there definitely are lots of girls that, will get married and they have kids and they come out and they're just like, I'm a lesbian or whatever. I had a, one of my friend's girlfriends from high school. She ended up, getting married to this guy. I think they only had one kid and they were married for like 7 years. She dated all guys, in high school as far as I knew, in college. And then she came out as, being either lesbian or bi, I don't know. But now she's had, she divorced that guy. Now she's had 1 or 2 wives after that. So I think that's not like super uncommon for people to kind of come out a little bit later in life, whether from social pressures or I would imagine sometimes people just aren't sure. They just don't know what they want to think about it. They're like, am I actually attracted to the same sex, or do I just think that girl's pretty or that guy's cute? Am I just acknowledging that he's attractive? Is that, like, does that mean that you're gay, to acknowledge beauty in someone of the same sex? Like, I could say someone like Brad Pitt, I'm like, that's an attractive man. Like, I could see it. I don't want to have sex with him, necessarily, because I'm, straight. But I can see it. I can admit, that another man is attractive. Now, sometimes I have a different, look on that. I'm like, really? Why are you into him? Right? And I had thought about it when I was younger. I was like, am I bi? And I definitely liked girls, but I was like, maybe I'm bi. And I thought about it, and, I've considered it, and I'm just like, I feel like I would just be like forcing that idea. Like, that's just not the first thing that comes to my mind. If I see a guy, even someone that I would, could say, hey, that's an attractive guy, I just like don't want to have sex with them. Like, it's just not a sexual thing. I'm not like repulsed, right? But at the same time, I'm not really attracted in the same way that I'm attracted, to girls. I can just say, hey, that's that's an attractive dude, but I don't necessarily want to have sex with him. But if I see a girl, I'm like, that's an attractive girl. If I was a single guy, all else being equal, it's like we're naked in a room, I would like to have sex with that person, right? So that's kind of how I gauge it. I'm not sure if that's, like, the best way to look at it. It's so, there's so much kind of gray in the area of sexuality and identity, all this kind of stuff is also gray. But that's just kind of how I think about it. It's like, all else being equal, would I want to have sex with that person that I think is attractive? And it's like, girls, yes. Guys, no. Not that I can't admit that guys, can be attractive, but it's not the same kind of thing. It's more of an aesthetic thing. Like, you would look at a painting or something and say, like, that's a nice painting. I like that. All right? Or that's a beautiful sunset, but I don't want to have sex with the sunset. I don't want to have sex with the painting. I mean, I guess that's true too, if we're thinking like platonic love. And I could say I've got love for lots of friends and family members that are men, right? In that sense of like kinship, right? But to me, that doesn't feel the same as sexuality. But maybe that's on some spectrum of of gay or not. I don't know. But that is, to me, I think of, to me, it always just comes down to, would I want to do some kind of sexual act with that person when I'm thinking like gay. But again, that's not what love has to be. That's not what relationships really have to be about. There are tons of relationships that aren't very sexual, right? Where you still love the person and it's like a partnership and that type of thing. But I would also say, I would say you could have that with a friend too, right? Like, you could just be kind of friends or family members. Like, you can have that kind of kinship, or, teammates on a sports team, or, soldiers in the same platoon in the military or whatever. Just like people where you've got their back, you're really invested in those people, but it's just like, it's not a sexual thing. So I don't know, maybe that's a very simplistic way to look at it. And like I said, everything's way more complicated than it appears. But that's kind of where I sort of think about differentiating those things. Oh, the pronoun thing. Yeah, I'll just call people whatever they want. Like I don't get that worked up about it. I'm like whatever. Call people what they want. That's fine. I saw someone on a Magic the Gathering Pro Tour that wanted to be referred to as it instead of they. It was like it and its. I'm like, all right, respect. They don't even want to be like humanized. They're just like, I am a thing here performing this task. I am a thing playing these card games. I'm like, all right, cool. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure how many people would feel that way, but I think there definitely are some people where it's like, and I mean, I guess like the sexuality and identity and stuff like that is a thing that maybe some people wish they could change. But I feel like there's stuff about a lot of people where it's like, in an ideal world, could I change this about myself? Right? These qualities inherent to kind of who I am or what I do or what I enjoy. I feel like a lot of people would make some adjustments if you could. It's like, man, I just really wish I could love this job and do this all the time, or just be happy with this, or be happy doing that, or stop with this anxiety or this depression, or, you know, all this kind of stuff. And so I don't know, it makes a lot of everyone is going through a buy phase. I mean, that is something too, is like how much is genuine versus not genuine in terms of people putting these labels on, like saying trans and they're not trans, and then bi and then they're not bi, and, you know, especially celebrities and other people like saying stuff like that. I don't know, like you want people to feel comfortable coming out and exploring. I think at the end of the day, everybody's just kind of exploring life, whether it's, you know, some of these like really visible ways, right, where it's like coming out or trans or whatever, stuff like that. But I think we're all in a process of kind of learning who we are and discovering, and I think putting a lot of labels on things is more trouble sometimes. But then, like, you want to recognize problems and things like that, but just letting people explore and figure out who they are, right? And if they're not, like, harming anybody or whatever, just let people do their thing. Like, that's, you know, kind of my thing. I had a friend of a friend whose daughters, you know, were changing their pronouns. They were like in middle school or something, changing their pronouns, and they were identifying as, I don't know if, again, the label with the trans and stuff like that, but like not as their assigned gender. Both of the daughters were. I think one was like maybe 13 and 11. And then after like 6 months or so, they were back to calling themselves their assigned gender. And, you know, relatively going back to a kind of heteronormativity thing. So they were just, you know, just kind of exploring and thinking about what that was, and maybe they heard about it or read about it somewhere, and they just weren't sure. Because they don't, you know, they just don't know what that means. So, that's what I'm saying. A lot of this stuff, it's very fluid, it's very flexible, especially in those formative years, and people trying to figure out, like, what's going on, what they want to do, who they want to be, all this kind of stuff. But anyways. Okay. Well, I hate to break it up, so we're having such a great conversation here. We can continue it tomorrow if you guys want, but I do have to get out of here. I got to go to sleep. I'm still in a sleep deficit here. But it has been cool chatting with you guys about stuff. And man, that Lulu pick, I think a lot of people would say that's a bad matchup. And we kind of got stomped early. But we still ended up winning. Like Senna Lulu, that has to be one of the worst picks because Senna has some of the slowest attack speed in the game. So the W doesn't even give you that much value there. It still gives the movement speed, which is nice. But that was bad. And then we were against like double poke, right? And Lulu's short range, and historically one of her problems is against poke because she doesn't have a lot of good heal. Oh. Blue balls on... Oh. It's hard to debate this in less than 200 characters. I mean, that's fine. And I think it's fine if we don't all draw the same conclusions about everything, too. I think, again, we're all in a process of learning and discovering and changing constantly. And so just, you know, realizing that. I had a whole team meeting, and I can't go too far into this because I do have to get off. We can continue it next time if you guys want. But, you know, that's a major thing that we've been talking about with our curriculum is... you know, helping students sort of explore how much guardrails do we put up, how much do we let them explore ideas, and especially if they have ideas that we think are misguided or potentially dangerous in some kind of cultural way or whatever, how much do we entertain that, how much do we try to guide them towards what we think of as the correct, or get them like back in the ballpark of something that we think is reasonable. But I think really just seeing it as a process, and that's something that I really was like talking about. It feels like a lot of other people weren't seeing it the same way. Some were. But that, you know, regardless of whatever the topic is, your goal shouldn't really be to change somebody's mind. Like, you shouldn't be coming in, unless that's a specific objective of a specific thing, like a formal debate or whatever. But even then, I think it's just to have a good conversation about stuff. And even if you know 100%, I'm not going to change my mind about this topic, right? Or you're pretty confident that you're not going to change your mind. Even just having conversations about stuff with people helps give us better nuance and better understanding of the entire conversation, not just our own perspective, but other people. And we can, you know, further appreciate things, even if we don't, again, necessarily abandon our current perspective and buy into another one. But again, I don't think it's usually a binary yes or no about most topics if you're a sophisticated thinker, right? I think there's always kind of some areas of gray, except with perhaps the most extreme topics. But I think that, you know, just coming to understand other perspectives can help enrich the whole conversation, enrich ourselves, enrich others, even if we don't, quote unquote, change our mind about specific topics. So, yeah, I agree, Aaron Zach. A lot of the, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I live in the South. I don't remember if you do, but if you do too, obviously John does. But yeah, it is unfortunate. A lot of these like just weird, like anti-LGBTQ laws that are, you know, sort of popping up and, you know, using this kind of misguided. And I think a lot of people honestly don't believe that. There might be some people who do, but I think a lot of people are just using it as an excuse because they feel like the LGBTQ sort of culture as they see it as a cultural thing, not as a biological thing. They see it as a cultural thing, and they see that as potentially dangerous to their kids. So they're just like, oh, you know, Timmy, if he's around, or if like these gay ideas are allowed to propagate or whatever, all of a sudden Timmy's gonna think he's gay and he's gonna be gay, and then I'm not gonna get any grandchildren, and you know, and then he's going to hell because it says that in Leviticus, you know, or whatever, right? Like, I think that's the fear, is that, you know, some of these people just don't understand that, aren't maybe as sophisticated in terms of, you know, what they've read and who they've talked to and all this kind of stuff. And so I think it is a genuine concern for those people. And you can kind of understand that everybody wants the best for their kids, right? But it's just like, it's misguided. So it's like, I understand the sentiment, but, and that's good to want the best for your kids. So that's a thing we can agree on that's positive. But I think a lot of this fear is stemmed from a misunderstanding, right? That if we just had a more productive conversation, we could, you know, I think we could both be winners there. But anyways, okay. I gotta get out of here. I hate to go because we are having such a fun conversation, but we can pick it back up. I know it won't have the same momentum probably coming in tomorrow. Yeah, I guess that's right. I mean, again, I've never really been in that same kind of position, but just being the token whatever, right? The token gay friend or the token, you know, black friend or the token poor friend or whatever. I was the poor friend to several of my, you know, friends, but that wasn't like as much of a degrading experience, right? Like people just didn't make a thing out of it. Like they weren't specifically bringing me around to say, see, I associate with poor people too, you know, like some of my rich friends, because I don't think that was their intent, right? And I never really thought of it. Oh, they're trying to like, you know, flex or impress, you know, impress me with certain things or whatever convoluted way people could think about that. Blair White. And there's a lot of people in the trans, you know, community and the LGBTQ community. That's the thing too, is it's not monolithic. They don't all just agree with everything, because they're not part of the, you know, cisgender normative whatever. And even cisgender normative people aren't all the same too. That's the problem too, is I think a lot of people just want to put everybody in groups, and this is a very postmodern thing, and think it's us versus them, you know, these power dynamics. And, you know, disenfranchised people, it is good to band together to try to advocate for more equality, more rights, all this kind of stuff. So yes, that's obviously good, but it also has the risk of being, you know, reductive, saying, oh, I automatically think this or do that. It's like basically stereotypes because I'm gay or because I'm black or because I'm, you know, whatever. And it's like, that's not all true, man. I mean, there's like, you know, there's gay people that vote Republican. There's gay people that don't like some aspects that are stereotypically gay, you know, and there's all sorts of stuff in between. Find a comedy drag queen show. Yeah, the blue-haired, non-binary people are like the Karens of the LGBT. Yeah, so I mean, you know, you could say they're giving us a bad name because they're very hostile and aggressive and stuff like that. And I mean, it's just like you see, you know, these racist, homophobic rednecks giving white men a bad name too, right? Like I'm sure there's that guy or that girl, you know, or that person in every community, right? Where it's like, okay, they are the walking, like they're the hyper stereotyped, you know, person in this community, and they're giving us a bad name. People need to chill and realize, you know, there's a lot more diversity among this group than people think. The thing that gets me the most, a lot of it is this people of color that they say, right? Because I'm like, are you shitting me? People say, well, we're looking for more women and people of color, right, in these things. And it's just like, that is so insanely reductive. It's like you're saying that anyone that's not white is basically the same group, right? So whether you're from Guatemala or Nigeria or Korea or, you know, Iran or whatever, it's all the same because you're not white. And it's like, so you're basically just trying to form the identity of 90% of the world or something, 80% of the world around not being something else, right? So not It's like basically your enemy. You're trying to create this common enemy. And I get it. It's like politically expedient to try to band everybody together for a common political purpose. But to me, I would just feel weird about it. Even just saying like, you know, something like Asian, right? Like there's a big difference. Even between like just China, Japan, Korea, right? If you're talking East Asian, but definitely between like India, you know, China, and you know, if you're really talking Asia, that Asian continent also includes Russia, Iran, all of these places. Like all of that is so very different. So it's like at least say East Asian or South Asian or whatever. And people usually just say Russian or Middle Eastern. And even among the Middle East, obviously there are dramatic differences, which is why they're almost always fighting each other about something. Even people of the same religion that are like in the same geography. So I don't know. Like it's all very complicated. But I wish people would try to understand and see the nuance among all these different groups and not just focus so much on this group versus that group. Again, I understand the political expedience and the need for having people to band together to try to create change. But at the same time, I think the way that it's done is from a perspective of opposition and bare minimum, like subtle hostility, sometimes outright hostility. And I think that's creating a lot of problems in like us versus them in our culture, when we should be looking for ways to kind of try to bring people together and find common ground a lot more. Counterculture movement was all about labels, are for clothes and not for people. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm not like obviously a super expert, but there's something, you know, it's really complicated. I show my students this video on like universalism too, where it's like, if you try to say that background or culture or context doesn't matter and you treat everybody the same in terms of power structure in society, you're just kind of saying everybody, if they want to succeed, has to default to the most powerful group, right? So that's kind of the problem with universalism, is it sort of sweeps under the rug a lot of challenges that people face, a lot of real problems with context that are out there. But at the same time, if you go too far in the other direction and you just focus on groups all the time, then that's also a problem, and that, you know, creates a lot of tension and other types of things too. Infinity Stone is East Asian. Nice. Okay, but anyways, I gotta get out of here. I could talk about it forever. I'm sure you guys could too. It's all very interesting. And I don't think we're ever going to have a perfect answer to it. And I think that's something that's just really cool about the human experience and existence in general, is we don't have the answer. There's always more searching we could do. There's always more thinking we could do. And I think ultimately that's a good thing. You know, you're never going to have anything that's absolutely perfect. And even if you could, would you want that? Whatever that means. So it's all very interesting. But anyways, okay, well, that's going to be it. Thank you very much. I'll be back tomorrow. We will continue our quest of trying to see if we can start earlier. We'll probably fail, but we'll try to see if we can get closer to like 10 o'clock. Yeah, I mean, that's a big thing in life, too, is that process of discovery. Again, it's not even that it's a bad thing that you can't find a perfect answer. You can't have a perfect thing. I think that's, like, ultimately a good thing. Even though it's annoying, even though there's lots of problems, you know, that's part of the adventure. Okay. But anyways, alright. Well, that's going to be it. Rub one out for your homies. We'll see about that. I'm going straight to bed. But thanks. Have a good day. And we'll see you next time.